This week on Dig Me Out. With your hosts, Jason Zia and Tim Minichi.
Jay, we're back again with another episode thanks to our Dig Me Out Union on Patreon. You can help us make the next episode happen by joining us at dmounion.com or digmeoutunion.com. And if you heard that introduction music, you know it's our year in review, our wrap-up episode for the season, our 13th year in review episode, Jay, that we're doing. That's crazy.
Lucky 13.
Lucky 13, exactly. So what we like to do on these episodes is take a look back at the previous year, reminisce. We'll talk about the records that maybe were new discoveries for us. Some of our favorite episodes where we chatted with each other or with other people, and maybe give a preview of 2024 season 14, where we head into
the abyss.
Into our freshman year of high school.
Oh yeah. I'm just realizing that the shows is the same age as my daughter. So
you're just realizing that now.
I am.
After 13 years.
I knew it was close, but I didn't realize it was exactly the same year.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that you recognize that fact.
Still on the uptakes on something.
That's okay. Earlier today, I was trying to remember the names of the pieces of paper that you use to wipe things in your kitchen.
Paper towel?
I couldn't remember paper towel. I was like, I got to go get some in the basement because we're out. And I couldn't remember the phrase paper towel.
Oh,
so,
man.
That's how my day went.
Yeah.
Then I just spent the next 2 minutes just like, am I losing my mind? Is this the beginning of the end? I couldn't remember paper towel.
Totally normal.
So this was a year where, Jay, we talked about a lot of big records.
Yeah.
I don't think we never plan on doing anything. It just sort of happens. Where we plan on having people on the show and they're going to pick the records, but we talked about just a reminder here. We talked about Soundgarden, Hole, Filter, No Doubt, Depeche Mode, the Afghan Wigs, not quite as big, but still, Catherine Wheel. Okay.
Yeah.
That's not all. Blur, Elastica, Pearl Jam, and Warrant, all in the same year. That's wild. That's a lot of stuff.
There were some like legit big records in there, and then there were some other bands that I know are favorites of ours that we finally got to, with the Wigs and Catherine Wheel and Superdrag and Pearl Jam.
And for the No Doubt and Pearl Jam episodes, we debuted our Diamond episodes where we talk about records that sold more than 10 million copies, and we kind of give them a fresh listen to see, do they hold up? Is it a record that people should go back and check out, or is it really a product of its time? And I think in both of those cases, I mean, for you at least, Pearl Jam 10 is your favorite Pearl Jam album. And I think we were both a little surprised by the Tragic Kingdom album by No Doubt, just for the album tracks.
Yeah.
That was the shocker. Wasn't all just Don't Speak.
Yeah, I think that's what will make that series fun for us, is that get a chance to listen to some of the albums that probably neither of us bought, but know the singles. And then on the flip side, see how some of these, I guess, more legendary albums that we are familiar with still hold up and how we feel about them.
Yep. And we also talked about a lot of bands that we didn't know going into this. So what were some of the bands that maybe you walked away with an appreciation for that you never had heard before?
Two that I really had never heard of before that I came away impressed on that are on the total opposite end of the spectrum. One is Dirty Three,
Mm-hmm.
which sort of knew the name, but really knew nothing else about them. Just really creative from a performance standpoint. Just unlike anything I'd ever heard before. On the upper opposite side of that is T Ride, which like kind of the kitchen sink approach, but done in just this amazing sort of production technique and was a lot of fun. So those are two bands that like I'd never heard. T Ride I'd never even heard of. And came walking away just kind of blown away by both of them for totally different reasons, but were fun nonetheless. Did you discover anybody new?
Well, along with the Dirty Three, which I had again, like you knew the name, but I never listened to them. The Sigur Rós album that we did, which
Yeah.
was one of our two post rock albums, was a completely brand new listen for me and something I'd never heard before. And I walked away just sort of blown away by that album, which people have been blown away by them for the last 23 years. So
Yeah.
I'm a little late to the party on that one. Um, there were some, out of the blue records that we got this year that were really interesting. One, early in the year was Wonder Band, which Whitney Bueller brought. Just a nice little power pop record. It had a great single that should have been a big hit, but for whatever reason, didn't make it to the radio stations. Um, and like you, I love that T Ride record. I have it. I have a playlist that I listen to in my car for when I'm driving, and it's in that playlist of like hundreds of other songs. Because I'm like, this is just so much fun. Like when the drums kick in on like hit like or what's the song that I'm thinking of? I don't know, but it's got that great drum sound on that record. It was just so unexpected.
Yeah, it's
Also,
insane.
the Course of Empire record, that was a really interesting record that, again, like no idea what they were going to sound like, didn't know. And then I didn't know the
Yep.
Warrant record. So that was a big, reveal, I guess you'd say. And that was a
Right.
very fun record to listen to. I mean, we had a lot of good stuff this year. I don't think I had a single a decent single for any of these records this year. I think it was a better EP or Worthy album, which you know a lot of good records or a lot of interesting records, I should say, because a lot of stuff I might listen to for the podcast and then I'm probably not going to go back to it again. But
Yep.
at least it was interesting during the week I was prepping, and I wasn't like dreading listening to it over
Right.
and over again. Um, Same thing goes for our aughts episodes. This was the first year that we did bonus aughts episodes. We did 6 of them. Each of them were a little bit different. We covered the Distillers, Poster Children, The Nation Blue, OK Go, Palo Alto, and Motor Ace were our 6 picks from our patrons via the polls over at Patreon. I gotta say, out of those, I think the Poster Children album was probably the one that was the biggest discovery, because that was again a
Yeah.
band I heard the name forever and I just never bothered to check them out. And
Yep.
now I'm kicking myself because that record was so interesting.
I had the same reaction. Kicking myself. Why didn't I discover this band earlier? Like they were around, you know what I mean? They were so like they were playing a lot when we were in a band, and they were just a band that like other bands liked, and like for whatever reason, I just never had the opportunity to see them or hear them until we did that review. So it was a lot of fun.
I do want to mention, so this time last year, I think Chip joined us. It might have been last year to talk
Mhm.
about some of the reviews that he did, and he did some more reviews for us this year with Chad Clark of Smart Went Crazy and Beauty Pill. He talked with Joe Pernice. He talked with, what was the other one? From Fret Blanket. I forgot who was that. It might have been multiple members of the band. And then he talked to Dominic Duran and Andy Chase of Ivy. And those were all, I think that's, oh, and Dave Smalley of Down by Law, All, and Dag Nasty. And
Tad.
and Tad. That's right. Thank you. Which I had no idea that Tad, or Thomas Andrew Doyle. First of all, I didn't know that it was an acronym for his name. Did you
Right.
know that before this? Before that?
I did not know. I mean, I knew people. I know he went by the name Tad, but I didn't know why. I just figured it was like a nickname short for something else.
Like Thaddeus. Uh,
Yeah.
and I didn't know he made like weird instrumental music and has like a
Yeah.
bunch of albums on his Bandcamp page. So that was fun to discover because that I like to listen to that kind of stuff. Um,
His interview with the Chip is great. He's just one of those really like important people to kind of give an oral history of Seattle as it was forming because he's friends with all those bands and his
mhm.
band was, you know, very quintessential grunge and very much part of that scene. So like hearing him talk about that time, producers he worked with, but then also he's very open about the sort of business side of things,
Right.
which I always love to hear. So definitely enjoyed that interview.
And we also did a couple of roundtables this year. We did our uh, beginning of the year episode or roundtable, albums of 1993. We'll be repeating that, I think, for the last time in 2024, when we do the albums of 1994. And then I think we've already done 95. So unless we loop back around and start doing them again,
Mhm.
it's going to be it. That's it. We're done with that series. But we have other ones. We also did Depeche Mode in the 90s with Ian McIver. That was an excellent episode to pair with the release of the new Depeche Mode album that came out this year. And we did a we did a roundtable of the evilest records of the 90s. That was for episode 666, if you remember.
That's right.
We did a poll. We were trying to figure out what we should do for episode 666, and it was the evilest records of the 90s won that poll. So next year, I've already plotted out all of the patron reviews, and I'm going to figure out how we can get some more roundtables back in because we just have a lot of people with picks. And
Yeah.
so we got to service our patrons with their picks. Love to do that. I just got the first. I already know what the first review is going to be from one of our patrons for 2024. I'm not going to spoil it, but it'll be a band and a record that you might know.
What we started last year off with was it Carcass?
Yeah, Carcass.
Yeah, so
We're not heading in that direction. I'll tell
okay.
you that. Uh, but it's a band we've talked about before
Okay.
that we've actually done an episode on. So
Oh,
this will be the second one. So it'll be an opportunity to compare and contrast consecutive records from the same band in the 90s.
nice.
Um, and yeah, that's all the stuff we did in 2023. 2024 is going to be the same, folks. We're just going to come back and we're going to have lots more records and lots more aughts episodes. We already have our first aughts episode planned for 2024. If you join us at Patreon, you can get those plus all like 2 dozen 80s episodes we did over the last couple of years. And yeah, that pretty much covers all this year. I'm tired. I need a real long nap after this year. It was a long year.
Well, the holidays are coming up. You can recharge, right?
Yeah, I guess we got to do some traveling. You know how it
Oh,
goes.
guess not.
I got to make my way up
Sorry.
to the Great Lake,
Yeah.
to the Lorraine, and to the Vermilion and all those areas up there where the wife's family are. So Anything you'd like to close us out with, Jay, as we wrap up 2023?
No, I'm looking forward to next year. I think like you said, this year was surprising in that we finally got to some pretty big records and some of our own favorites. What I'm also looking forward to is this year repeating. This year we got to visit some artists that I was familiar with, had heard some stuff, but had an excuse to spend a lot more time with, like
Mm-hmm.
Juliana Hatfield and Depeche Mode and Sigur Rós and Blur, Bad Religion. So I'm looking forward to next year. Hopefully there's a
Right.
good handful of like artists I kind of think I know, but I don't really know. And get a chance to dig in a little deeper.
You think you know, but you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's such a great balance between stuff like that, and then you get like I said, the Wonder Band album, the Lowcraft album, the
Yeah.
Red Lorry, Yellow Lorry album. I mean, there's just stuff that we listen to and we've either never heard the names or all we've heard is the name. It's always fresh and new, and just keep doing it until they tell us to stop, or until we
They.
have to be replaced by digital avatars like Kiss that don't really look like us.
And nobody knows exactly what they are.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I am going to send us home for the holidays and say thank you to all our patrons for their support. We love hanging out with you on the Discord and sharing the music. We covered a lot of the music that we discovered this year over on the previous Thankful episode. So check that out if you're curious on the new music that we checked out this year. If you haven't listened to that one yet, and yeah, we'll be back in a week. Really, I mean, it sounds like we're going away for a while, but we'll just be back next week.
Right, right,
That's
right.
There's nothing really much to that.
Yeah, there's like this big dramatic, like we're taking some time off or something.
No, we're just recording this earlier so that we can actually have like a week and a half as opposed to
Oh,
just a
so
week.
luxurious.
We get that extra 3 days to not. This is the one of the few episodes I don't have to prep for other than like look through what we did. So it's like it's a little less taxing on the brain. I just put on like a 4 hour long loop of ambient music from YouTube today. That's
I
always
made a
been.
playlist of all the records we reviewed this year.
Oh, you did?
At least tried to.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
smart. I should have done that.
Well, I try to do it automatically because there's so many, but
Right.
it mostly gets it. You pick the release year and then the year I added it to the library. Get most of them. It's fun to go back and hear what, kind of stands out.
Are there ones where you're like, I don't even remember what my review was for this?
I mean, I know generally like if there was a decent single in here, I would know. There's a
Sure.
couple like Collide and Spot. It's like, oh yeah, I think I like those. And I listened to them again. I was like, yeah, these are pretty cool. I'm pretty sure I gave them worthy albums, but don't hold me to that.
So what we're saying is we have amnesia, like in Memento, and we just forget everything that happened in the first
We're on the
previous
next,
week, and
man.
we're
We're on
on.
the next week. Got too many
uh,
albums to
we're like Belichick. We're on to Denver. Don't even
exactly
not worrying about the what just happened,
1 week
and
at a
it didn't
time.
happen. Okay, so thanks everybody for listening. If you would like to join us at the Union, you can go to dmnunion.com, digmeoutunion.com. You can suggest an album over at digmeoutpodcast.com. It's also where you can go to sign up for the Box newsletter. It comes out every week. New reviews, calendar of new releases, all that kind of fun stuff. It's kind of dead right now. I'm not going to lie. We're scrounging to find things put in the calendar. The end of the year is when nothing gets released, basically. So it's a lot of like live albums and compilations that come out at the end of the year. But I know there's a lot of stuff planned for 2024. I've seen the release calendar for the beginning of the year, and let me just tell you, I'm just going to grab this real quick right here. There's some interesting stuff that's going to be coming out that will be in the release calendar for 2024, at least in the first quarter. We're looking at stuff from Judas Priest,
Yeah.
Lenny Kravitz, Sheryl Crow, Ministry, the Mick Mars solo album, Ace Frehley, Jay Mass's solo album, Sonic Youth have a compilation or a live album, like a rare episode or not episode, a concert that they did, I guess is pretty legendary. Granddaddy have a new album coming out. Jay Robbins from Jawbox and Burning Airlines has a new solo record coming out. Craig Redren from Shudder to Think has a new solo record coming out. The Smile, the Tom York band with Johnny, that's got a new record coming out in January. There's a new Green Day record, a new Sleater Kinney record, a new Black Grape record. So, I mean, that's just like the first 3 months of 2024. So there's a lot of stuff that's going to be happening. And that's just what we know right now. There's going to be stuff dropping, all the time. So what I'm saying is it's going to be busy. We're going to be busy.
Many of those have pre-releases out already. You can listen to the first single.
Yep.
Most of it sounds pretty good.
I haven't listened to the new Judas Priest, but people have talked about it.
Sounds awesome. I mean, the last album was pretty killer, and it sounds right in line with that. So
I like it. I like that.
It's amazing that they're that old and
right.
Like
I'm in Maiden. Like I really like the last
man.
Maiden record, and like these dudes, they got it. Just let them keep making records. All right. For Jay, I'm Tim. We're out, and we'll be back next year with another episode of Dig Me Out.